I'm John Kovach. I'm a newspaper editor. I'm a radio announcer. I'm a high school football coach. And since I was old enough to stand on the side of a stream next to my dad, I've been an angler. I've fished with bait, lures, and flies. I've fished with spinning gear, fly rods, jigging poles, and tip-ups. I've stood on ice, waded rapids, and been tossed about the deck of a boat. And I want you to love fishing, be it freshwater or salt, heavy flows, high seas, or cutting through a foot of ice, as much as I do. No matter what the quarry, no matter the tactics, no matter the chosen tackle. Welcome to Yankee Fisherman.
Good Thursday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Yankee Fisherman. Spring is here. Finally felt like spring today. It's raining again, so the rivers will be high. Opening day in Connecticut is Saturday. A lot of people fired up to get out. A lot of people just itching to go, those who aren't the hardcore people who are fishing the open water. It's all going to be opened up as of Saturday. Be a ton of people out fishing for trout, and it'll be its usual fun day. A lot of this is catching stocked fish, and that has become more and more of a topic of discussion. One of those discussing stocking versus native trout is Bob Mallard. Bob is the owner of Kennebec River Outfitters up in Maine, the author of 25 Best Towns to Fly Fish for Trout. He's a member of the Winston Pro staff, and I know he's been making the rounds, visiting clubs, talking about self-sustaining brook trout, lakes, and ponds. Recently spoke to the Narragansett chapter of Trout Unlimited. They're good friends of the show. Bob Mallard joining us by phone from Maine. Bob, thanks for taking a few minutes to talk to us.
Hey, thanks for having us.
So, has this debate come more front and center recently than I'm aware of, or is it something that's been going on, that this stocked versus native, it's really gone from a discussion to a debate?
Yeah, well, it's always been in the background. I think, it's usually been more of a TU initiative and the so-called wild fish advocates, but it's becoming more mainstream as more and more of these fish and game departments struggle with economic woes. If you take a look at the typical fish and game budget, a huge percent goes to fisheries, and a huge percent of that goes to stocking. So as they, are all running out of money, looking to raise license prices, etc., it's one of the few things we can control, which is what we're stocking, how we're stocking, where we're stocking. And so I just think that has a lot to do with, why this has come up or becoming a more visible issue than it might have been in the past.
What happens when we introduce what really you could argue is an invasive species into a stream that's inhabited by native trout?
Well, the whole thing on invasive species, and we're getting smarter. We know a lot more about that today than we did when I was a kid. And, you hear these terms, bucket biology, and that it's a bad thing. And it is a bad thing. In some ways, our own fish and game are the worst culprits. They're the ones moving, rainbows and browns and, landlocked salmon, on and on. Basically, there's two issues. There's native and there's wild. Native are the fish that, historically, belonged here, and wild, could be, it's anything self-sustaining, be it native or not. But the big argument, has been, the minute you start introducing anything to these, ponds, streams, rivers, it throws things out of balance. There's predation factors. A prime example is, we'll just take New Hampshire. They do a lot of brook trout stocking, roadside, beautiful, streams. They're stocking 10-inch brook trout in water that, Mother Nature would give us 6-inch brook trout. And they're stocking them at densities that far exceed natural holding capacity, because that's where the trucks get to. So they'll get to this, spot, they'll sluice in, 50 fish in a little dinky area, and any small wild fish that happens to be in the zone is probably in trouble. At minimum, they're getting bullied out, worse, they're getting eaten. You get, spawning habitat disruption. I mean, anybody who's fished any tributaries to a stocked, trout pond is going to bump into rainbows in the spring and brook trout in the fall and browns that are pushing up into these tribs. They might not be successfully spawning, but they're trying and they're disrupting, what the wild and native fish are doing. So, you've got the possibility of disease. A lot of, whirling disease came from hatcheries. Other parasites, copepeds, etc., come from hatcheries. And there's also, the potential of what they call genetic swamping, which is the typical hatchery fish has a much lower level of genetic diversity than a wild fish. Simple terms, they're inbred. And you don't want, these inbred fish spawning with, a robust wild fish.
Is the answer to eliminate stocking, or is the answer to find dedicated places to stock fish and dedicated streams that are designated wild trout habitat?
I don't think, we're so deep into it, I don't think we ever get away from stocking, and nor would I say we need to. I think what we need to do is, as a result of decreasing funding, declining license sales, one of the things to understand is a lot of what we get comes from the feds, and a lot of the federal money it's earmarked to habitat work, to restoration work, wild trout management. There's very little matching funds available for hatcheries unless you're doing some effluent cleanup. So sometimes you can get some money under the guise of pollution control, but nobody's throwing money at us for hatcheries. Meanwhile, there's all these funds available. Every time we want to go clean up a stream, we've got 3 or 4 different people willing to match our funds. So every dollar that goes into stocking is potentially $2 to $3 lost. So there's this big economic component. But at a minimum, we need to be looking at where can we have viable wild native fisheries. In the case of New England, for the most part, that's brook trout. And if we can maintain a wild native fishery, have the fish that belong there, and they're there for free, we need to do that. And in order to do that, we need to make some concessions, which is, you're not going to have 10-inch brook trout in a 5-foot wide stream. You're going to have 6-inch brook trout. You have to make some concessions in regard to harvest. One of the problems we have, and brook trout are typically the least protected species in any New England state. They have a higher minimum length limit. They have a lower minimum length limit, rather. They have higher bag limits. No small stream fishery can sustain the kind of pressure that we're allowing right now, which is why we do this stocking. It's often called supplemental stocking, supplemental meaning in addition to meaning wild fish. So, where we can do it, we should. And in order to do that, we all need to be willing to make some concessions in regard to, tackle restrictions and harvest restrictions, and just the concession that, we're not going to have 12-inch fish in a 10-foot wide stream.
Yeah, that's probably a great idea. Now, you're making the rounds discussing these. You've got a few appearances coming up in Maine. You want to talk about those?
Yeah, I've been pretty much all winter, starting with some early TU banquets and then into the big shows, Jersey, Mass. I've been to, New Hampshire show, a couple of Maine shows, and a bunch of TU chapters. I have 2 TU chapters left, and then a Maine Audubon annual kickoff for some work they do, some survey work on these self-sustaining ponds. This year's focus has been on Maine's self-sustaining brook trout ponds. We have roughly 650 unstocked brook trout ponds. New Hampshire has 3 formally designated wild trout ponds. The Adirondacks might have 30. Vermont has virtually none. And then, Connecticut probably has none, Rhode Island, Mass, etc. So part of what I'm doing is showing that, this is a unique resource. We've lost a lot, and we've got a lot more to lose. The interesting thing about Maine, and I've lived in Mass and New Hampshire as well, is that Maine is doing today what Mass and New Hampshire did to their fishing 30 years ago. We're driving it, in some ways, pushing it to the edge where, down in Mass and Connecticut and New Hampshire, they're actually working now to bring back some of what we lost. So it's kind of interesting that 30 years ago I watched Massachusetts, beat its fisheries into the ground, its wild fisheries, and, Maine was flourishing. Now I'm watching us lose water while Mass is restoring water. And they've done some wonderful work down there with wild brook trout, coastal wild brook trout, salters, a group called the Sea Run Brook Trout Coalition out of Mass, and they've done some, phenomenal work restoring wild, sea run brook trout to the Cape Cod area.
They really have, and Bob, you've done a great job of bringing this discussion to the forefront. Thanks for coming on for a few minutes with us. Love to have you back on again, because I think this is a discussion that needs to take place, and it's going to take a long time before we figure out where angling falls in this.
Yeah, we just need to find balance, and that's the issue here is nobody should be asking that everything be one way, but we should all be asking that, everybody has a place and every type of fishing has a place, and just need to make room for it.
If we could just do that with everything, we'd be a lot better off.
Yes, we would. It shouldn't be this hard. But,
Bob Mallard.
I appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Appreciate having you, Bob Mallard, Kennebec River Outfitters writer. His work's in a ton of magazines. He's got books out, and we'll have him back on soon on Yankee Fisherman, presented by the Dock Shop.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Winter is finally in our rearview mirror. Can't wait for the air and water temperatures to start rising? Well, if the answer is yes, you need to get over to Darien or Westport and stop by the Dock Shop, where it's always summer. Both shops are being stocked with lots of new merchandise, including fishing tackle, marine electronics, boating supplies, and more. But remember, the Dock Shop isn't your average tackle shop. At the Dock Shop, you'll also find the finest selection of nautical apparel, jewelry, home decor, and gifts in New England. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, and 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Online at dockshop.com.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or go to coastalorthoexpress.com. That's coastalorthoexpress.com. Like them on Facebook.
Walter Stewart's Market in New Canaan is your time-saving local shopping destination for the best of spring. Find many of your favorite products, from great specials on everyday items to the freshest organic produce, artisanal cheeses, and grass-fed steaks. Chop off your knives to be sharpened. Grab a beautiful bouquet of spring flowers and stop in next door for a wine tasting. Plus, their personable staff is always ready to lend a helping hand. So stop in to Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street today, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com.
Join the HAN Network and Make-A-Wish Connecticut to help make travel wishes come true for local kids with life-threatening medical conditions. Donate your unused airline miles to the HAN Network Wishes in Flight campaign. Together we can share the power of a wish.
Hi, I'm Rob Adams with my good friend Donald Eng, and we're the home team for Nutmeg Sports, Monday through Wednesday at 2 o'clock right here on the HAN Network. We are the place for all things Connecticut sports, so come hang out with us on Nutmeg Sports. Don? They don't call him the best color man in the game for nothing. Nutmeg Sports, 2 o'clock, Monday through Wednesday, right here on the HAN Network.
Fisherman, presented by the Dock Shop. We are literally hours. I almost thought about having our director, Eric Gendron, do a countdown to opening day clock, but opted against that. And the hardcore guys have been out in the trout management areas, etc. But for opening day, it's Saturday, 6 a.m. Lines can hit the water. I'll be out. You've got the Youth Fishing Passport program from DEEP, and that allows you to sign up a young angler under 16 for a free youth fishing passport, and that allows them to participate in fishing-related activities designed for them, plus some benefits at stores and from organizations, etc. Now, the DEEP is also doing some stocking Saturday, this at the trout parks. These are youth-oriented places, and they're going to have stocking times are going to be around 8 o'clock Saturday morning at Wharton Brook State Park in Wallingford, around 8:30 at Watertown at Black Rock State Park, at Chatfield Hollow in Killingworth around 10:30 Saturday morning, and around the same time, Southford Falls State Park, that is in Oxford. Kids in Fairfield got a chance, and it's a tradition that's going on for half a century, to get out a little bit early with the Fairfield PAL Trout Derby. That was on Saturday. I got to spend some time down there, see some people I know, people I've known a long time. They're doing a great job introducing kids to fishing. Let's take a look.
Who caught it?
Sophia.
How'd you catch it, Sophia?
Using a worm. Using a mealworm. She was using a mealworm.
Let's see it. First fish?
First fish.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Extra whip. 10 and 3/4. Rainbow. Get them back in quick, okay? People there, man. Right here.
Officer, how long has the Fairfield PAL done this derby? I understand it's some time.
At least 55 years, maybe more. As far back as we can remember. I've been running it now for over 25.
How many fish are stocked and what's in here? But we've seen a lot of rainbows, but I've heard there's some others in here too.
We stocked rainbows and some brookies, but there's a lot of people catching carp and sunnies too. So it's a whole assortment.
Tagged fish as well?
Yeah, we tagged 5 and 1 was caught already.
I've heard that's the first in a while that a tagged one's been caught.
As far back as I can remember, that tagged one's been caught. So
how long have you run it?
Over 25 years.
How many people do you think you have here? Because it's a pretty borderline miserable Saturday morning, and the bank is pretty well full.
We have probably over 100 kids, plus their parents. It's a good family day, and it looks like everybody's catching fish and enjoying themselves.
What is the importance of events like this to the Fairfield Police Department and the Fairfield PAL?
Well, this is our big event where everybody comes out. It's a big family event where mom and dad, they fish with their kids and help them along, and maybe they can enjoy fishing all their lives. And it's a big one for us because it puts us out, promotes us, and what we're trying to do.
You've got some other events coming up. I know you've got a bike safety rodeo in May.
Yep, on May 14th, we're going to run a bike safety rodeo on Jennings Beach. We're going to teach kids bicycle safety and how to ride a bike, and hopefully it'll help them.
We are with retired Fairfield Police Sergeant Frank Onder. Frank, you were around for the first Fairfield PAL Fishing Derby. How did this get started?
It was started sometime probably in the middle 50s, maybe 55, 56, by Pat Carroll, who was a captain on the police department, and his best friend, Mick Fingelli. Both of them are fishermen, and they started this trout derby.
Has it always been this well received? I mean, it's pouring now, and we've got 100 people still on the banks of Gould Manor Pond with their lines in the water.
This starts off the fishing season for the kids under 16, and we always draw a good crowd.
Are you yourself a fisherman?
I was when I was young, but those years are gone.
Oh, we'll get you back out there. Frank Onder, thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us on Yankee Fisherman.
You're welcome.
Here, look at it. Look, Jackson, look. That's an awesome catch, man.
There you go. Good job. Here it comes. Here it comes. You got it? Okay. Maybe we'll put a new worm on there. Put it back up there.
Well, I know he was up. He was up.
Okay. You wind it up. Okay. All right, bud. We'll throw it in. You can wind it up again?
Yeah, I know wind it up.
All right.
And what's your name?
What's your name?
Hey.
You like fishing with your dad?
Here you go, bud.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you. Can you say thank you? Yeah.
We're with Jimmy Orifacey of Jimmy O's Bait and Tackle on Fairfield Ave in Bridgeport, right at the Fairfield line. Jimmy, you're a Fairfield guy. Do you remember participating in this?
Yes, I do. I do. I started at a young age, and every year it remains the same and better. It's a lot of fun for these kids, and even though we got a little bit of rough weather today, it just never seems to bother them.
Fishing, I've always said, kind of forces you to appreciate how good a bad day can be. You can be out in a day like this and have a good time.
Right. It's exactly. Fishing brings out the best in both boys and girls. They have a blast, and it also, especially with kids, it actually helps them focus. Because they get so intense, they start seeing other fish caught, and they get really intense, they have a good time, and it's just a lot of fun.
How busy do you get the day before this with newcomers coming in? Do you get a lot of questions?
Yeah, we do. We not just the week before, the whole week, and it's great. We get a lot of parents that have never done it, and we educate them on what goes on and how to prepare for it.
You donate all the bait. How long have you been doing that?
I've been probably 15 years.
Very cool, and we appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Again, I'm a Fairfield resident, and as a young youth, I had the opportunity to come here, and the PAL did a lot for us, and you have to give back.
You really do, and that's what I love about these events, about Fairfield PAL, is that they're out there, and we're all about introducing new people to fishing. You hear all the time, fewer people are fishing, yada yada yada, and yet we've got 100 people in a downpour right now on what's really not the warmest Saturday.
Well, like I said, these kids are troopers. For this bad weather. We've had bad weather in the past, and they don't give up. They're having fun, and it just shows you what the sport of fishing is. It's like you said, it's a lot of fun. It can make a bad day into a great day, and it also teaches kids great hobbies in life. We're in an era, a big computer video game era, and a lot of kids have forgotten how to be kids, and the outdoors allows them to learn how to be creative and have fun and act like kids.
How many of the people that you see getting ready for this do you then see again as return customers as they take this up as a hobby?
That's a really great question, because it's amazing. I see kids here today that's their last year, which again 15, so that's how long. I've seen kids.
Jimmy, we're going to cut away. We got a big, looks like a big sucker of carp just got caught over here.
It's a carp. Small carp.
Yeah, it's a small carp. It's a good size.
Come on, Colton. All right. Here, Colton. Bring it up. You want to hold it? You want to hold it?
Hold it for the camera.
Hold it here. Hold it for the camera. Here you go. Okay. Hold it. Hold it. Hold it for the camera. There you go. Ready? Nice job.
Sister caught a fish.
No, real. Come here, real. No, stop. Come here, real. No, I got it. That's a good one. I think we got a double header here.
Yes, I got another one. Fish.
Oh, that's a big one. Let's get a picture of that. First fish?
Yes. He played center.
Really enjoyed spending a rainy Saturday out there with the Fairfield PAL and a lot of people I know from Fairfield, and watching these kids learn to fish. Now, this group that we've got up on the screen right now, they came walking up, and I was speaking with an older gentleman, and they asked if we could help them set up their rods, how to put the hook on. We put the hooks on, baited it, sinkers, etc. and the father had fished years ago when he was a kid. The kids had never fished before. They threw the line in the water, and the older boy started reeling, and he said, "Dad, I think I've got something." His father said to us, he goes, kind of dismissive. I didn't think, I said, "No way." First cast, 30 seconds into fishing, he caught his first. Great job there. Hopefully we've got some anglers for life there. Another chance to introduce youngsters to angling in New Canaan is the 27th Annual Officer George Cogswell Memorial Fishing Derby. That is Saturday, April 16th. That's at Mill Pond in New Canaan. Registration at 8:30. Derby is open to anglers 15 and under. Those under the age of 10 must be accompanied by an adult. Lines hit the water at 9 o'clock. Derby runs to 11. They're going to stock Mill Pond for that. Prizes for first fish, biggest fish by a boy and girl. Bait will be provided. Door prizes. That's a fun event. I'm trying to make it down there for that. And Fishing Northeast is having its inaugural casting with kids event. That's on May 1st on Center Springs Road up in Manchester, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. FishingNortheast.net for information on that. We'll talk more about that as it gets closer. We're going to come back, put a wrap, and head out for opening day. You're watching Yankee Fisherman, presented by the Dock Shop on the HAN Network.
Can't wait for it to get warmer so you can start fishing again? Get over to the Dock Shop, where they have the latest in fishing tackle, marine electronics, boating supplies, and more. But remember, the Dock Shop isn't your average tackle shop. You'll also find the finest selection of nautical apparel, jewelry, home decor, and gifts in New England. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, dockshop.com.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care open Monday through Saturday in the iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk, or go to coastalorthoexpress.com. That's coastalorthoexpress.com. Like them on Facebook.
A Better View Window Cleaning Plus has been cleaning glass all over Connecticut for over 20 years. They also specialize in cleaning chandeliers, mirrors, skylights, tiles, and will power wash anything that needs cleaning. They hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and are fully insured and bonded. When you deal with a Better View, you're dealing with the best, not the rest. Call today for a free estimate, 203-284-8836, or visit them online, abetterviewcleaning.com.
It's time to come back to hometown banking, where people are taken into account, not just balances, where community comes first, a place where there's more than one kind of interest, where automation will never replace consideration, where they not only know your name, they know your dog's name too. It's time to expect more. It's time to bank well. Bank smart. Bank local. Bank well.
I'm Kate Chaplinsky. Join us for Coffee Break, weekdays at 11 to get the latest Connecticut news, weather, high school sports, and more. News doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break on the HAN Network.
Welcome back to Yankee Fisherman, presented by the Dock Shop on the HAN Network. A couple events coming up this weekend in addition to opening day. Housatonic Fly Fishermen's Association, they meet tonight, Thursday, April 7th, 7 o'clock at St. Paul's Episcopal Church, 65 North Main Street in Wallingford. Marla Blair, friend of the show, we recently had her on. She's the author of Positive Fly Fishing. She's a guide. She's an instructor. She's going to talk about the hatch and body language of trout to help in choosing the right patterns. The Mianus chapter at TU, their 42nd annual banquet is Saturday night at the Stamford Yacht Club. I will be there for that. That's always a great event, great prizes. You can still get tickets to that. Go to mianustu.org and you can still get in there. It really is an awesome time. I've gone the past few years in a row. This year's Housatonic River Cleanup, that's going to be on May 7th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Meeting spots are the Birdseye Boat Ramp in Stratford or the Sunnyside Ramp in Shelton. That's rain or shine. And we're going to have Leon Sylvester, who organizes that. We're going to have him on very soon to talk about the Housatonic River cleanup, a very important effort each spring. Well, if you count on opening day to tell you that spring's here, it's here. Hopefully it warms up. Hopefully you get out Saturday, and if you do, tight lines.